My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like sort of.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Phil J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one-stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show, where Blue is awake, I promise.
I think he is.
I am.
How you doing, Big Blue?
I was doing my research on how to spell secret, so I was trying to remember the name of the movie, okay? And it was The Secret Garden was the one I was trying to remember.
Yeah, Secret Door.
Yeah, I kept telling the guys, y'all didn't see The Secret Door? It must have been one of my BBW selections from The Secret Door, but...
Hello. And so, how you doing, Hyman? How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Not too bad, dude. Now that the weather's kind of changing and it's getting a little bit cooler, the mood's getting better. The Steelers are at first place now in the AFC North. They won somehow. It's crazy when the special team scores more points than the offense and you win. But it happens.
It happens all the time.
But now there's a bye week, so we know we can't lose this week. So it's a good time, man. It's a good time. But over the weekend, there was a article that dropped from Howard Bloom, and I know that you guys have had an opportunity to see it. I've put a video out, reference what I knew and had seen, and I want to get first and foremost, Jaime, what was your initial thoughts about that? And while you tell everybody about that article, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get something to drink.
You're gonna put me on the spotlight? No, don't put me on the spotlight. You better not. He's totally gonna do it. No, well, when I read the article, I don't know about you, Blue, but I thought it was really well put. Especially like describing everything that Steve was going through, what his thoughts were, and his plan of execution. Kind of way of trying to solve his daughter's murder and whatnot. It just as a father, you want to do everything possible. You want to do anything to find out what happened that day, and you want to see it to the end. You know what I mean? And make sure that whoever's responsible for those murders, they have justice for it. And start getting some closure.
Yeah, 100%. I think I got the gist of what you were saying. There was a couple of things that were coming out of that article. The first one I want to talk about is Steve stated that the 4 toxicology report back in and that no drugs. Everybody was clear. Were you surprised by that? How do you guys feel about that? We'll start off with you, Hyman, then we'll ask you, Blue.
Being a college town, you expect a lot of these college students to be, experimenting with not only drugs, but, alcohols and, different stuff, right? So it's kind of, it's not surprising, but it's like, it's not as common. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Blue? What do you think? Do you think it was, are you surprised that they came out completely clean? Do you think that dispels any rumors that there was some sort of drugs involved?
I'm not surprised, man. I do, honestly, hundreds of drug tests a week on random people at work, and I probably see a few positive, maybe 1 or 2 out of 100. Mm-hmm. So the population, not everybody uses drugs. I mean, I think more alcohol. I lived up north as a college student. Yeah, there is stuff like that around, but it's so expensive up there. It costs 3 times as much as it did down here.
Mm-hmm.
So over there was beer. Beer was easy access. It was cheap. I remember the good old days. Used to be able to get a 30-pack of Keystones for like $15. You know, or
Keystone.
Keystone or Bush Lights up in Wisconsin.
Oh man, one time I was drinking a couple of Keystones, and then I went and got a different kind of beer. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It's probably one I won't drink anymore. But then I went back to the Keystone. Oh man, it tasted so bad after going to a more expensive beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jaime?
About the beer? I remember when you were broke. When you were broke, you hit up those MDs. Remember MD 2020? Oh man,
yeah.
they'll get you somewhere fast.
That's true, man. That's true.
The purple one was delicious, though. The purple one, the orange one was good. But I like MD 2020 sometimes.
The first time I had one of those, I was with my cousin, and I had already been drinking. So I was already feeling kind of good. And I had the orange one, and I drank it. It tasted damn good to me, you know, because I was already buzzed, you know. And I ended up drinking like half a bottle or maybe a whole bottle of that by myself, dude. It was the worst mistake I'd ever made. But it was, you got to learn. Everybody got to grow up a certain way, right?
True that.
And so, you know, getting back, well, first I want to say thank you to Canadian True Crime Buff for coming in with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. We appreciate
it. Thank you.
So the other thing that came out, and basically the main topic of the show, is going to be the possible secret informant. You know, we've been hearing about this throughout this entire case, right? That there's some sort of confidential informant or something of that nature. Now, I assumed, and I'm sure maybe you have or not, but that they were talking about the relatives of Bryan Kohberger when they were going through the what's it called? The genetic tree line, looking at his distant relatives. I thought that was going to be the informant, but it appears that not be the case, that there actually might be a informant. Now, what the article stated was that this informant came forward through the tip line, and their identity or whatnot, or they're protected, and which is why the Goncalves family were stopped from talking to this person. So, when do you think this informant came about? Let's try to break that down first. We know that December 19th is when the genetic tree thing was finalized and they had the name Bryan Kohberger. And we know that the first warrant looking at Bryan Kohberger was December 23rd, when they pulled his historical locations and his location out of the incident. Yeah, you know what? Mine ain't either, Blue. We're having some problems with our live chat. Blue, try to see if refreshing your screen works. If not, we're gonna have to look down at the phone.
That's why I reset mine when I logged out for a second, and it didn't do it.
Yeah, it's StreamYard. Dang it. We're gonna have to look down. I apologize, y'all. So back to what I was saying. We know those things happened. December 23rd is when they had the warrant. What kind of witness are we looking at? Because to me, I felt like they didn't have Bryan Kohberger as a suspect until December 19th. Where does this confidential informant come in? What are your thoughts, Jaime?
I think, well, an informant is someone who has information, right? And then there's eyewitness, right? Which is different, no?
No, I think but I think they can classify an eyewitness as an informant.
Okay, so whoever called into this tip line, I feel like it had an eyewitness account more than just information. You know what I mean?
And so when do you think that came to play? Because if they didn't know, like for instance, did somebody come forward right away and say, "Hey, I know it was Bryan Kohberger because I saw this guy," or do you think that, like, how do you think? What are your
Well,
thoughts?
I think it wasn't right away. I think it was between like the first 2 or 3 days, maybe, because they had a description of a car that was traveling around the residence, right?
Right.
So at least they know that this eyewitness was this informant saw a car, a white Elantra, around the same time that this crime happened.
Right. So then, in that scenario, they would have seen somebody, but not been able to identify who they are by name
Yeah.
because they didn't know who his name was. So like my theory was that it was the DoorDasher. We know that the DoorDash person was there at 4 a.m. And for me, if it was somebody that came forward pre-arrest before Kohberger's arrest, that tells me that they may have seen Kohberger but couldn't identify him. They hadn't, had a line or pictures or
Yeah.
anything like that, which is a little concerning because if that ends up being the case, they had Bryan Kohberger's name November 29th, right? They got him from a license. They saw his bushy eyebrows. They put that in writing. So, I feel like that was just something that they put in so they can try to get it as far away as possible from being a coming genetic tree discovery thing, right? So they're trying to get it far away from that. They're talking about the first time they got his name, which is very well could be that. But if they had like an eyewitness and they had his driver's license picture, I feel that, maybe perhaps that person would be able to identify him. And I think the ball gets rolling on Kohberger right away if that ends up being the case. What are your thoughts, Blue?
Yeah, I think at the time of his leaving and arrival, he'd be pretty close to the time if it was Brian pulling up in his car. I think he would have got a good close view of him, especially if he
Mhm.
was in the area delivering at that time. I mean, I know a lot of Door Dashers that like to drop off their meal, and then once they drop it off, they don't leave right away. Some do, but some look at their phone and try to pick up another order. So
Mhm.
maybe while he was waiting for another order, or she was waiting another order, and if it's a guy or girl, um, they were he could have noticed somebody driving around.
Right.
While he was looking at his phone.
Hmm.
The other option is that this witness came forward post arrest. Now, if the witness comes forward post arrest, the likelihood that that was an eyewitness is small, right? The likelihood of this person having information, if it's post arrest, I think that's greater. Would y'all agree to that?
I agree.
So, if it's a post arrest, it had to be somebody who had information, uh, and somebody who knew some things and came forward about it either just before his arrest or after. Because I can see how somebody learning something right around the time that he got arrested, like let's just say December 15th, 16th, 19th, 20th, somewhere around there, I can see somebody being concerned about something and learning something about him when he got to the Poconos. I can see that being an issue. And I can see them calling it in like, hey, I'm seeing some crazy stuff. And we'll get into what those things are and calling into the police department and putting in a tip based on their account of what they know at that time. But let's break down both of those scenarios. And do you think that there's a possibility that both could be it? Do you think that there's a chance that there is a witness, the DoorDasher, and that, that saw something pre-arrest and that there was a, somebody that came forward post-arrest with some information, right? So
Yeah,
let's talk about do you think that there's a possibility that both of them could be true?
I think so. I think so, especially how this case has been going. And with this gag order and everything, a little bit of information here, a little bit of information over there. At this point, anything is pretty much possible. And it's, wouldn't be surprised if there's more than just two. This a witness before the arrest and information after his identity was revealed.
Yeah, true.
I want to say thank you to Athens Ford. Yeah, she gifted 1 membership. And also thank you to ISOF. She gifted 5 Drunk Turkey memberships.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. We do appreciate everybody that helps support us, whether it's through memberships, live chat, or super chat, super stickers, and all the above. We truly do appreciate you guys.
Sure.
So the article mentioned a couple of things, right? They stated that the tip came in through a tip line. The DoorDasher, according to this article here, it says the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information, he or she reported this information. Do you think that could have been through a tip line?
Yeah, that or they summer to like the interview.
Maybe. I mean, it's possible. I mean, they very well could have. If Xana Kernodle ordered a DoorDash, once they forensically downloaded her phone, they would have known that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. They could have known that was the case. And if that's the case, then what she reports is solely that she was there at approximately 4 a.m. and that Kernodle received the DoorDash order. So if she says that she saw Kernodle receive this order, then we can believe that she took it in, right? Now, if this person is out there around the time when Kohberger is going in and out, do you think that there's a likelihood that this person could see the driver of the white Elantra, whether it was Kohberger or not, right?
Yeah. I think the probabilities are real high, especially around that time. You're not, from some of the videos we've seen, there's not a lot of movement going on. So
yeah,
if they're doing turns and whatnot, it'll be really noticeable by by witness.
Yeah, and well, go ahead, Blue.
I'll say thank you to Steelers fans. You gifted 5 memberships today.
What?
Awesome.
She's not free. She's not freeloading today.
She's a giver.
Yep. Way to go, baby. I appreciate you. So, DoorDasher, possible witness. Right. Now, if it was post arrest or around the time that he got arrested, it would have to be somebody that possibly came in contact with Kohberger, seen something about Kohberger, or was around Kohberger. If they're pointing the finger towards Kohberger, right? That's the first thing we got to specify. It appears that this person is stating that Kohberger was involved, right?
Yeah.
Now, from all accounts, we don't know anybody that he's close to in Portland. I don't think so. So, what have we heard about a possible, information coming out? Well, that was Kohberger's sister.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, guys.
While you're getting your drink, I just want to say thank you to Karen D. She did a $4.99 super chat, and then she put down, it seems it's 2 different people, because surely this would have interviewed the DD driver early on. If so, why would she need to call the tip line? I told you guys I'm dyslexic, so it's hard for me to read this.
No, it's fine. I got the gist of it. So, what could have happened and what probably happened was if it was the DoorDasher and the DoorDasher was the tip, is this person dropped off the food at 4 a.m. So they were working pretty late. There's a good chance that this was asleep during the time when everything was going on. And when they woke up and discovered the news, there was probably some sort of tip line that was put out for people to contact, and she had information. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it could also be that. They could also interviewed her, and she might have not remembered, and decided to call it in instead of call it in because she might have forgot that what she saw that night. Especially being so late and being around. Who knows how many times she went to different houses. She couldn't probably remember which one was which at that point.
That's true. That is true. And I think that, yeah, that's 100% possible. What do you think, Big Blue?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think it's more like a mind thing. You know how sometimes we don't recollect something right away until we start running it through our head a few times. Be like, oh shoot, I missed that, or I saw that after you ran it through your head a few times. I know I do that.
I think that's possible. I think that, seeing that 4 people passed and seeing the house, I think they would probably be alerted as soon as they saw it. Now, there could be a situation then that's not the witness, right? Or the witness that they're talking about and referencing to the article. There's a good possibility of that. Now, we know that there's been sources that state that this Bryan Kohberger sisters, one of them, had made some statements. Now let's go over what those statements are just to kind of refresh our memory on it, and then kind of decide, is this how much information is there? How in depth is that information? How detailed is that information to determine how accurate it could be, right? Because if it's very vague, then it may not be true at all, right? So it says when Bryan Kohberger's sister feared that her brother was involved in the stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students before police swooped in on their parents' home and arrested them for murder, according to a bombshell report. Sources told NBC's Dateline that one of the accused killer's older siblings grew increasingly suspicious of her brother and his behavior when the family gathered to spend the holidays together. So, if this is the sister that didn't live there, because I think there was one sister that did and one sister that didn't. If this wasn't the one that didn't live there and came for the holidays, so she probably wasn't around Kohberger up until maybe around the 22nd or so. You get what I'm saying? Now, That's just my speculation. She could have been there since the 13th. I don't know. But I do believe both of the sisters had jobs at the time. I know that they've been released, or at least one of them's been released due to this situation that's going on. But they were both employed. There's a good possibility that they were working at that time. So the fact that they said, gathered to spend the holidays together, it sounds like the one that's not living there. Our suspicions were so great that at one point, several family members searched Mr. Kohberger's white Elantra for possible evidence of the crime. Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were brutally stabbed to death in an off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho, on November 13th. Let's see. Because it goes back into it. All right. In mid-December, Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student at Washington State University, embarked a cross-country trip. During his time at home, his family members noticed that he was behaving somewhat bizarrely. The source said that Mr. Kohberger was constantly wearing latex gloves, including inside their own home. One of his older sisters began to wonder if he could have played a part in the murders, and at one point, she raised the concerns with her other family members. She loudly pointed out that at the time of the murders, her brother was living just a few miles from the crime scene and that he drove a white Elantra, the make and color of the vehicle that was at the center of the investigation. So first and foremost, that's a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's not just a little bit. They're talking quite a bit. There's more that comes out. Do you think this could possibly be one of the witnesses?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, just going back to, there's a suspicion of maybe he was involved with it. It tends to bring out other questions like what did he do, or what was his other actions that made him feel like he was that he could do something like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you got just because he had the make and model of the car doesn't mean he's like a certain person is going to be the suspect. It had to be other things that came with it, like the way he acted, like the suspicious that he rose, and for the sisters, and the way he acted towards them. Maybe he was angry with them or whatever. He had anger problems. So like I'm sure there's more to it than just he lives around her and has a white Elantra. This go lick his car. I'm sure there was more to it.
Well, they talk about the gloves. I think that's pretty big because they're saying that that's not a common thing for him.
Yeah.
So that was new to him. Now he'd only been at Washington State University for a couple of months, so he wasn't there long. I mean, is it possible he developed that habit while he was there in the short time that he was there? I guess, but I mean that sounds super suspicious to me.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
So let's continue this. It says, along with the bizarre tendency to wear latex gloves all the time, she believed the family member. She believed that the family could consider that Mr. Kohberger may have killed the 4 victims, the source said. Now, who do you think the source is? Because I don't think that the source is Bryan Kohberger's sister.
I don't know. It could be one of the officers, or it could be somebody like other in his family. Family always tells each other what's going on. And there's 2 things I wanted to bring up. Thank you, Lena Vargas. She became a Polk Squad. She became part of the Polk Squad today.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another $4.99 super chat from Art Reese. He says, "I love the drunk turkeys. Consistent, unbiased search for the truth. Great job, gentlemen and mods and the chat."
Thank you,
Art.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We use StreamYard, and for whatever reason, it's not bring up our comments on the side here, so I apologize for that. For me, I think that for somebody to know this much information, it has to be an officer. Now, who's not privileged or part of that gag order in Idaho? Pennsylvania officer. Where were these sisters, the Kohberger family at? Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So I think that they would be able to get around that whole gag order stuff because of the location of where Kohberger was arrested and how the gag order is in effect there. So I think that this is probably a police officer from the Pennsylvania Commonwealth.
Would Kohberger's family have a lawyer for them? Like for them to speak on their behalf?
I don't know. I think they do, because I think they got one when it came down to the Dana Smithers grand jury that they got subpoena to go and talk to. So I think they got a lawyer by then. So, but I'm not sure if there's a lawyer that's going to be talking on their behalf and referencing, this case.
Yeah, like you said, it sure sounds like might be a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
Or law enforcement.
I'll continue. It says Kohberger's father allegedly defended his son and insisted he could not have been involved. It sounds like he was the only one. Don't you think that if the mother was also defending him, it would have been Kohberger's parents allegedly defended his son? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So I think the only person in the Kohberger residence that didn't think it was him was the dad.
Some people have doubt.
Yeah. So But the concerns were clearly big enough for several of the family members to reportedly decide to search the 28-year-old's vehicle to look for possible evidence. By that point, police said Mr. Kohberger had already been spotted cleaning his car out with bleach, and so the family members didn't find anything of note, the source said. Now, when was he spotted cleaning out his car with bleach? Like that's a little bit of a question mark for me, because was he spotted, cleaning his car with bleach in Pullman or in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, because if it was in Pennsylvania, him and the dad were traveling in that car, right? So they would have been the dad would have at least noticed something, right?
Right.
But
well, not just that, but like my question is, if the police didn't know Kohberger was the guy, or they didn't suspect him number 19, and he was already in the Poconos, so how would they have known, or how would somebody have spotted him cleaning his car out with bleach, and police would have known about that by this point?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's Kohberger's sister who said that, or one of the other Kohberger's sister, the one that does live there, said that, the day that he got there, he had cleaned it out with bleach.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only piece that fits, is that it had to have been Kohberger's family member that said that they seen him clean out his vehicle with bleach. And I think it was probably maybe the first day that he got there. He cleaned his car out again, cleaned it up with bleach. So by the time that they decided to go search his vehicle, there was no point. It was already been cleaned up with bleach. Does that concern you, though? Because the defense is alleging that there was no sign, there was no explanation as to why there was no DNA in his car. When that, what do you think, Blue?
I said somebody put in the chat that there was no evidence of cleaning agents in the car, but I would say if he used the bleach wipes and bleach towels, that stuff dissipates after a while. It's like you can use bleach to clean kids' toys, and it wears off after a while, and they put the things in their mouth again, so they're not dying from bleach poisoning.
It's true.
Disappeared.
Dang, Blue, way to come in clutch with that medical knowledge. We appreciate that. But that's absolutely true. He went in there and cleaned it with bleach weeks earlier, because remember, this crime happened November 13th. He was arrested December 29th or so. And so if he cleaned his car out with bleach November 15th or November 18th or December 10th or December 18th, wouldn't be there anymore come December 31st when they processed that vehicle. I'm going to look that up just to be on the safe side. I'm going to look that up.
I always had a problem with that bleach statement because of the, doesn't bleach discolored materials and stuff? The colored materials?
I think you can get some bleach that won't do
safe.
That. Yeah, it's color safe, or the wipes doesn't have that strong bleach where it stains the stuff. We used to use wipes all the time at work, and they have stronger smelling smells than the bleach does. And we clean the blue tables and stuff like that, and they fade after a while. But this is time and time and time again that we clean them every day, and they're not white. These are regular seats and stuff that you would think.
I think you're cutting out, Blue. I don't know if that was me or you on my side or your side. But I'll tell you one thing, there was a lot of suspicious things going on around that time. He was doing a lot of suspicious things. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they're gonna try to make it seem like it was a habit of his, it was a past habit of doing that. You know what I mean?
With the bleach?
No, just necessarily on that, but like the gloves and stuff like that.
Well, here's the thing. They probably got video of him, walking around post murders, right? We know that. They got a receipt where he purchased some Dickies, what we're about to get into, right?
Yeah.
You would assume that there's a timestamp on there, so you're going to be able to go see what he was wearing. If he's not wearing gloves in that, how suspicious are you of those gloves?
Yeah, if he's not wearing gloves, you're gonna have to throw that whole habit thing out the window. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's gonna be like, oh, he's doing this for a reason and one reason only.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got a question on there for Iron Range Ruby for $5 super chat, and it's actually addressed to me. It says, Blue, are you a Packers fan? Which no, I'm not. I'm a Bears fan. So I'm from Minnesota, a diehard Vikings fan. Even though every year they break your heart, it's okay. Every year the Bears break everything. My spirit,
spirit.
they just got off their 14 game losing spree. So at least we got one in the books. But they might get the first round draft pick next year. They might. The way they're playing.
The way they're playing. Never know, man. You never know. So, and thank you for your $5 super chat. We appreciate that.
Thank
Iron
you.
Range Rube. So, yeah, to me, I think that if they go back and they don't see him wearing said, gloves, I think that's going to be a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, Blue, speaking of Dickies, here is a example of some Dickies that we have. So these are black. So a lot of folks in our comment section were saying, "Oh, he was wearing Dickies, eh? They're dark blue." So, Dylan said she saw black, so it can't be the same. One, if it was even the dark blue, it was dark. Right?
Yeah.
That's hard to tell. But they do sell some black ones, by the way. Yeah. And I think people are just assuming that because it said clad in black. I had some people say he was wearing a sweater or a hoodie. And I was like, there was nothing that was ever disclosed as that. They stated that he was clad in black and that he was wearing a mask that covered his mouth and nose. Right? You know what I noticed right here? Around the waist is there's no place for a belt.
True that.
You know what I mean? So this for a belt. Is that a reason why he's not wearing the sheath properly?
Yeah, more than likely. Also, I've owned a pair of these, and the pockets are real shallow. They're not as deep as you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like if you
Yeah.
put a sheath, with a knife in there, it won't completely go all the way down. You know what I mean? It will stick out.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a problem. That's what happened there. That he took it out, put it back in his pocket, did the crime, and it fell out of his pocket.
Yeah, that's possible
because of how shallow the pockets are.
So he didn't realize until he walked out or was driving away.
Yeah, it's possible. What do you think about the fact that if the sheath didn't fit, why didn't he or he couldn't, put it in his pocket, he couldn't put it on a belt, why take it in there with him? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, first of all, the Dickies, they're tough, man. They're tough. They have tough material. They're water resistant, right? They're not waterproof, but they're water resistant. They're stain resistant, and it's pretty hard to puncture it, compared to other materials. Even though it's hard to puncture, I'm sure he would have still taken the sheath, because even if you put the knife in his pocket, the pocket has a different kind of material, a little thinner material that could actually puncture through. So I think that's why he still took the sheath in there.
Right. Well, I don't know if he would put an exposed knife in his pocket, but I do think that there's a possibility or a thought of that he could cut himself. And if he does, it's game over. You know, he's
Yep.
going to have DNA that he cannot explain.
Mhm.
I saw a comment in here I wanted to.
I wanted
Where
to
are you
Crime
see
seeing
junkie.
comments?
Oh, I have my phone right here, right
Oh.
underneath the. It says, Crime Junkie 7 says he bought it in Washington. Yes, it says that according to the article, he had bought the coverall suit, or it said long sleeve work uniform, which is this. This is what the long work uniform is. And it said it was not too long before the murders had occurred, and they're nowhere to be found. Right, they're missing. Now,
Just like the
people
knife.
are looking. Yeah, people are looking at that two different ways. I've heard one group of folks say, "Oh, it's missing because he used it and disposed of it," and then I have another group of folks in our comment section that are saying it's missing, so it never existed and it's all planted.
No, I think
Where do you sit?
No, I think he disposed of it. If they searched his house, his apartment, right? His apartment, his car, his mom's house, or his parents' house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't find it. And there's a receipt that he bought it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they're missing is also the knife. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that he disposed of both of those.
Yeah, I think he got rid of him too.
Yeah, well, it said that they have a receipt for a K-bar knife that he purchased a few months earlier in April. So that tells me that he went to Washington predetermined to commit a crime similar to the one he commit a murder. My thoughts are that it was always going to be multiple people, right, to increase the case, to make it more of a high profile case. Remember in one of those specials that watching, I think it may have been 48 Hours, and they were talking to one of Bryan Kohberger's friends from when he was using heroin and he had stayed in contact with, and he had stated that during that time, Bryan Kohberger had told him that he had wanted to be a detective, but that he wanted to investigate high profile crimes. You know, I don't find that being, a coincidence that there's this high profile crime and he wanted to be connected to a high profile crime prior to this, shortly before this. So, my theory is that he wanted this to be a high profile crime and he wanted to get away with it. So it didn't bother him when there was multiple vehicles at that house, because the more victims he had, the bigger that case would be.
Yeah.
Oh, are they working? It's working. Oh, nice. Now I can put my phone down.
Yeah, I know. I just switched my screens all back over, so I'm good. I had to pop up the chat on my screen because I was like going off by the YouTube, and then when we're talking over here, it's confusing the crap out of it. We're back.
Andy Short says it could have been for Halloween. The thing is, I'm assuming, but if they said the attire here was about not too long before the murders were after by a couple of weeks. So yeah. I don't think that that's likely.
And if it was for Halloween, I want to see the photos of him in it or something. I'm pretty sure he would have gone to a party or something where he would have came out with the costume.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, not only that, like, where is it now? I still have my costume from like 3 years ago. But,
exactly. I have the one you bought me.
Like, where is it? Like we're expected to believe that he disposed of it for no reason. A $50 long sleeve work uniform that I'm assuming would be very beneficial for warmth reasons in Idaho, right? He's just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna throw away for no reason. By the way, I'm also gonna throw away my knife because I don't need it either, right? Yeah. Like, and then you got to add everything together. You have the receipt for a knife. You have a receipt for the Dickies long sleeve work uniform. You have him driving a white vehicle without a front license plate the night of the murders by his own admission that he was out driving around. You have a vehicle that describes that, or that matches that description around the residence during the time when it's suspected that the crime was committed. You have his phone being off around the time that the crime's committed, and it turns back on after. And he's not that far away. He's 3 miles south of the city where this crime happened. So you have all those things. Plus, his DNA is on an item underneath one of the victim's bodies. I'm not seeing where the big hole in this investigation is.
Yeah.
All right, talking about big holes and dickies. Seems funny. No, I was gonna tell you a story about when. So these dickies, even I know Hammond said they're super tough, but now when they came to me, man, dickies when I did when I worked as an electrician, especially in the hot summertime, you know how you get all sweaty. Well, I remember one time I had to walk around for like half a day with half my leg taped up because it ripped from the crotch down from me. You know, missing a step on the ladder and overstretching them.
Yeah, you might have.
I think you bought the wrong pants. Those were the rip-off ones.
Yeah, those are the assless chaps.
I almost turned into assless chaps. I had to go take myself up because we're in somebody's house. I was like, man, brother, you got a stapler or something in the truck? He's like, no. I said, well, where's the duct tape? Because my pants tore from the crotch all the way down to my kneecap. So. I missed a step on the ladder and I overstretched. I did a split in the middle there.
That's crazy, bro. Northeast Kilnew Elliott comes in. So what makes you think he didn't donate it if it was a Halloween costume and he donated to Goodwill? There'd be no record of that. That's true, there wouldn't. But I mean, what kind of luck do you have that the costume you donated shortly after Halloween is gone? Also, your knife that matches the knife that is suspected to have been used in this crime is also donated. He just so happened to touch a sheath that's not related to the knife that's missing. And his DNA got on it, and that sheath was just somehow picked up by somebody. And the real killer had a white Elantra without a front license plate. And the real killer knew that Bryan Kohberger was going to be driving around without his phone during that specific time so that he could frame him perfectly. You know, the wilder the story gets, the less believable it is. Yeah. And that's what I'll say with that. Thank you, Jane, for your $2.99 super sticker.
Also, like, there's no, not record, but there's no, habit of him. No, we don't know of him giving to Goodwill either. So randomly, he's not going to give stuff to Goodwill.
I mean, it's like I said. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it plausible? Probably not. And you know, if that ended up being the case, and we know that is a suspicion, don't you think that perhaps, actually, if he's innocent, that his lawyers would go and try to find said Dickies, like, hey, let's go to Goodwill. Let's try to figure out if there's a transaction. It's not the biggest place in the world. You know what I mean?
I mean, they get a lot of donations, man. They make some money. They make some money. I remember I just saw a little video about how much their nonprofit CEO makes, and it's almost $200K a year. So they make some money. Now,
I'm with you on this one, Melissa.
Same here.
Go ahead, Blue.
I think if it was a donation center and if it was like at an office donation center, I know those places have cameras because a lot of them get robbed by the homeless people, and so they have, cameras to make sure they don't break into the building and stuff like that. So maybe if he would have said, "Hey, I donated it," they might have him on camera giving it away. That'd be a good part of his defense to try to find.
Right. And I saw a question that said that they had only heard about the Dickies receipt. What they had was a receipt and a Dickies tag. And then, according to this article, Airmo says only there was no sign of the Dickies outfit. Police had looked high and low but couldn't find it, just as they couldn't locate the murder weapon. They had a receipt for a K-bar knife he had purchased online months before the killings, but this too had seemingly vanished. So, yeah, there was those two things. Mitch comes in, member for a month. Thank you, Mitch. Says, could the informant be somebody who took the survey? I mean, it's possible. There would have had to have been some sort of like connection made. Yeah, between Kohberger and the person taking the survey. I don't know if there was an actual like conversations or a way of somebody could connect to them. But if there was, then I can see that being a possibility if Kohberger ended up disclosing certain things about the crime to this person. That's very well plausible. What do you guys think?
No, yeah, definitely. That could be plausible. When was that survey put out there? Before the murders?
I think it was around April, man. April when he bought the damn knife. So you know what I'm saying?
There's too many fingers pointing in that direction.
Yeah, he buys the knife in April of 2022. That's around the time I think that survey was up. And then that's also the time where we got that released email from Chief Jenkins from the Pullman Police Department. And they're telling each other, they're saying their greetings for meeting earlier and referencing an internship position with the Pullman Police Department. Now, we know from the probable cause affidavit that they stated that he applied in the fall. And I've heard on several news media stations that sources have basically stated that they have confirmed that he did not get the position in the fall either. So if he didn't get it in the spring, or if he got it in the spring, he wouldn't be trying to get it in the fall and failing for it. Now, what do we know? We know that Kohberger's had problems every single place he's gone, except for DeSales University. And we suspect that the reason being there is because it's online, right? He got kicked out in high school from his law enforcement class because we can suspect or we're suspicious that it's due to having some sort of problem with women because he was placed in an HVAC classroom specifically because there was no women there. We know fired from his fish cutting job. I don't know what for. It probably has nothing to do with this, but he was still released from that job. He went back to work as a security guard at the place that he was in law enforcement school. And it's been discovered that he had a resignation letter, which stated that if he did not resign, that he understood that he could be terminated for his position. So basically they told him he
was forced,
but we're going to fire you. He ends up going to DeSales where there's no problems there. Well, there's no problems there while he's in campus, but he was while he was attending DeSales is while he was working as a school security guard, right? So even though there was no problems in DeSales, there were problems in his personal life with his law enforcement security job. Then he becomes a teacher's assistant, and his behavior is so concerning that the other PhD students begin to tally off all the issues that they're having with him. They are super concerned with the fact that he is apparently asking out this one girl over again. The students are doing their best not to leave them two together. And I think that's what sparks up the investigation against Kohberger when it came Washington State University. And by December 19th, he was terminated from his position before his arrest. Yeah. So he had a lot of problems. And he killed New Elliott. 999 comes back with a they were attracted that airmail article, a majority of that article 4 hours after it was released. Love you guys, listen to. They were attracted that airmail article, a majority of that article 4 hours after it was released.
Redacted? I don't know.
I know that there was also I'm not sure if there was anything else attached to it or not. I just pulled it up right now. So this is the most recent and current one. Oh, there it is. Redacted the article. Interesting. I wonder, or retracted the article. I don't know what's up right now. I mean, I just pulled it off the airmail here. So I'm not sure. Maybe they did. But that's what we are aware of what Bryan Kohberger was going through during that time and leading up to that time. Doesn't sound like a very stable person.
Especially like you said, everywhere he went, he was getting in some sort of trouble. He was having trouble with females or even with authority. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Patrick says the only retraction was only the DNA not being a drop of blood. It says at the bottom of the article. Oh, okay. Let's see what it says. Oh, I don't see it. That's fine. Now, the other thing that comes out in this article is the conversations supposedly between Dylan and Bethany during the time of the attack, to the point where they believe that I guess some text messages may have gone back and forth stating something to the effect that somebody may have killed them. What are your thoughts on them being able to, one, talk back and forth to each other under the assumption or the thinking that there's a possibility that people's lives are being taken? They don't call 911. They don't call 911 ever, actually. They call friends later on, and that person ends up calling 911 off of their phone. It doesn't make any sense. As much as I think, Bryan Kohberger, did this, and I don't really think that Dylan and Bethany were involved, but I mean, how do you explain that? Thank you, Naomi. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that, for people's lives being taken, the commotion would have been crazy up there,
Mm-hmm.
the third and second floor.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe that someone would, sleep through it or not know exactly or be concerned of it, at least.
Right.
It's just hard for me to believe.
Yeah, maybe we should see if we can get his old boss from the fish cutting job on here and see what.
Yeah. For those that do that deep diving into people, if you find out who that person was that fired him, send it to us.
And
the problem is that. Go ahead.
No, it says if he worked as a fish cutter, I mean, you get pretty good with a knife if you were there for a while. I've seen a lot of guys that do it professionally, and man, you can handle a knife without cutting yourself. Filleting a couple hundred fish an hour or a day. I think he would have pretty good knife skills because of that job itself.
Yeah, well, that's true.
At least he would know how to handle the knife. At least, you know what I mean.
And how to sharpen one.
Yeah, for at least that way he wouldn't hurt himself with it, or not have any trouble with it.
Do you think that maybe perhaps over his gloves he wore those cutter's gloves?
The longer ones?
No. They're like made out of like steel.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I know a lot of people. I don't know a lot of people. I know a few people that work in like meat markets and stuff, and they wear them because in case they like the knife blade slips or whatever, or they're handling the blades and cleaning them.
Yeah, could be.
Could be a reason why there's no cut. One of the things that people say is like, man, he didn't cut himself. Going up against four people, the likelihood that one of those times his hand would have slipped is high, right? And there's no blood of his. There's no blood of anybody else's because pretty much that if there was, they would be looking at that information first.
Yeah. Also,
right?
Even the K-bar itself has that guard. It's real big guard. So even with he's doing the stabbing motion, and if it has blood on there or whatnot, his hand would have slipped. That guard will stop his hand from slipping. So if anything, if his hand's gonna have anything, it'll probably be bruising.
Right.
On probably around this area from, going in and actually hitting bone or whatnot.
Yeah, from the guard. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Yeah. and he killed New Elliott. Comes back with another $4.99. We appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much. It says, last comment, guys. If he wanted to go down in infamy by taking 4 people's lives, why didn't you do 6? So, because I think he also wanted to get away with this, right? I think what ended up happening, and this is just my speculation, there was rumors that he apparently had, or not he, there was rumors that apparently Dylan had yelled out to be quiet because she thought that there were party goers. I think that is a possibility, that maybe she did yell out something, whether it was to be quiet or something else. I think that if Bryan Kohberger heard that, it's like anything else. Like if you're not engaged in conversation with somebody and they just start talking to you, you're usually going to miss the first part of that sentence, right? And most people are going to be like, huh, or what? I think that him being so focused in, and if her statement was just shut up, not like a series of words that could make up a sentence, and he heard that noise, the first time that this vehicle was seen is at 326 on 700 block of Indian Hills Drive, which is directly behind the police station. He's aware of where the police station is at. He knows how much time he has if Dylan called 911.
Yep.
And we also have to remember that we've talked to a student, a University of Idaho student who's a fraternity student out there that's been in the house before. And he had told us that Dylan's bedroom, that him and his buddies thought that was a closet for the longest time because of where it was located. So if Bryan Kohberger goes in there, his goal is to get away with it. He's not going to touch things as much as he likes. So he's going to leave the back sliding glass door open. And if he leaves it open so he doesn't have to touch it more, then I don't think he's going to touch things that he doesn't have to. And if he sees what he thinks is a pantry or closet door because it's right in front of the kitchen and right there by the stairway, he's going to pass by it. So when he hears somebody yelling, he hasn't even gone down to the first floor yet. So he may not even know where it's coming from. So time to go, time to go.
Yeah, I think it could be as easy as him giving himself a time span. So I'm going to go in there for this much of time. And, he did the crime. He didn't notice any of the other 2 survivors, even though Dylan kicked out of the door, didn't notice. And his time was like, I'm going to go in there for this amount of time and get out. Like you said, because if he was discovered or even heard them, the police station is so close, he could get there so quick.
Yeah, he got there from the time that he was behind the police station to the time that he drove in front of that first time was 2.5 minutes. So, imagine a police officer going there running code, lights and sirens, driving above the speed limit, trying to get there quickly. And that's not counting any officers that could be in the area already, on regular patrol. You know what I'm saying?
It could have been one in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And at 4 a.m., I can guarantee you that there's going to be officers at the station, whether they're, handling prisoners who have been arrested throughout the night for drunk related incidences. We know because of body cam footage throughout that night that police officers were pretty busy. They had a sign stolen and a bunch of other things. So I'm sure there's more incidents that occurred that ended up with people being in jail or people having to write reports. Those reports are written at the end of the shift, which is around 4 a.m.
Yeah, even the police officer was there by the field. Look at what time it was. It was around the same time. Look how close it was.
Exactly. And so, once somebody, he felt that he was discovered, he had to go. And, he may have even seen this person, but, his goal was also to get away with this. And so he took off. Mitch comes in with a $4.99 super chat. There's an interview with a fish boss early on. Not good with customers, I think. It's a TV type interview. All right, cool. We're going to try to go find that.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
How was he not good with customers? Was it female customers that he wasn't getting along with?
It's kind of history, man.
Yeah. Hysterical that anyone thinks he bought coveralls for Halloween. $4.99. Thank you, Ann. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't think it was for Halloween, man. I really don't. I mean, let's look at it this way. I mean, the coveralls, Walmart coveralls, those are $60, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the coveralls. You can buy the Halloween costume with the mask and everything for that amount of money.
For less.
For less, probably.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I do like to try to keep the chats,
Yes,
in our videos, because I think it interacts with y'all more and it helps us
You my boy Blue.
more friendly with y'all. So I like that.
Yeah, Blue's the man. He's the man with the master plan. So
Yes,
when it comes back to Dylan and Bethany, they didn't call anybody. The article mentions Hunter Johnson and Steve Goncalves going and talking with him. Now, I was aware of that conversation a while ago. We spoke about it a few times because I had interviewed Christy Goncalves, and I'm still in touch with them. I had interviewed them referencing some discrepancies in time and things of that nature. And during our conversation, we talked about the scenarios. And I didn't want to bring up names or anything like that because it wasn't out there yet. Now, News Nation had reported that it was Ethan's best friend, right? Now, we knew based on the celebration of life that when Hunter Johnson went up there and was talking about Ethan, he mentioned him as his best friend, right? And so I'd already known those things were connected. So that's why when we broke it, we said that, Christy had stated that it was, she confirmed what News Nation had reported, that it was Ethan's best friend.
Yeah.
So is that according to Christy, that Hunter Johnson got a call from the two girls. Now, this is what Christy told me, that he got a call from the girls. And what the report says or this article says here, is that also that he had received a call from the girls, and that he went over and he discovered the bodies and called 911. Now, what I was told was that he had gone over, couldn't get through the door because there was a trigger warning. There was a body on the other side of the door, preventing him from opening the door, and that it took some force, but he was able to get the door open enough to peer in and see the scene that he had seen. He said, everyone get out. And that was the terminology that was said to me, was everyone get. I don't know who everyone is, whether it was just, if it was Dylan and Bethany only, if there was other people. We do know that according to the Airmail article, that there was several kids outside, right? So what I think happened is, I think that Hunter Johnson got the phone call. I think his girlfriend ended up living right next door to this. So I think he was only, I think it was at the 1112 King Road residence. Yeah. And I think he got the text message, the phone call, thing is up, and he took off. And I think everybody in that house, came forward and went outside to go see what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Big Blue, you're not distracting me. I'm staying.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job. He's trying his hardest, I'll tell you that.
I'm focused. So what do you guys think about that? I want to start off with you, Big Blue. What are your opinions, sir?
I was too busy playing around with chat today. I don't remember.
You don't know anything I was saying.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
So what I'm saying is, so what I was saying was that this is what the information that was, told to us, right? Now, if there's a body in front of the door where, Hunter can get in, that body couldn't have been there prior to the killer leaving that room, because how are they going to get through there? Mm-hmm. So that body had to have fallen after the killer had left, right? So I think this is the reason why the girls don't want to talk in court or be around this situation or anything, is that one, they didn't act. They talked to each other. They waited 8 hours, and there's really no excuse for it. And even though they may be involved in this case to the point where they had anything to do with why the girls or why the victims' lives were taken or anything like that, in that moment, they let down their friends. And not saying that somebody could have been saved or not, but I can't imagine the weight of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
So,
Oh man, it would be eating me alive, man. If I, and I'm pretty sure they're feeling it. You know, they're normal people. They have
Yeah.
guilt. That would be eating me alive. It's like, hey, I heard something. What can I have done? I do it all the time too. You know, like where I work, because I do a lot of medical triage, and sometimes I'm like, we're full house, and somebody comes in, they're having a minor emergency, so I'm like, man, I already got the doctors doing stitches, and I got this next, I got that next. In my head, I'm thinking times, and then somebody says, I got a small allergic reaction, and I'm like, okay, we'll fill out your paperwork, and man, they started printing out paperwork. Not even a minute later, like I can't breathe, and I turn around, they're red. I'm like, holy crap!
oh wow.
Split second. So I brought him back. We got him stabilized and taken care of, man. But that's just like that guilt. The whole night I felt guilty. I'm like, man, I should have brought him back sooner. But they didn't have the hives. They had little welts. And I see people when they come in and they're breaking out to alert reactions. I mean, they're as red as a tomato. The hives are everywhere. They can't breathe. Those I bring back right away. But when they're not as bad, some people are like, I'm having hives and I had them for a week. I had them for days. You know, I can imagine, oh man, I heard something I could have called and my friend could have been alive, because if they passed away or died in front of the door, that means either two things: is that they either fell off the bed after they succumbed to their injuries, or they made it to the door. They crawled there. It depends on how bad the wounds were. And they could have slowly bled out once they passed out. So I don't know the circumstances of when it happened, who it was, but that happens sometimes. You know, I've seen other cases where somebody gets stabbed and they pass out. They don't remember what happened at a certain point, but somebody found them an hour or two later, get them to the hospital, call an ambulance, and they live. So imagine if that would have happened at that time. And you know, one thing I wanted to say earlier is that we're almost reaching a year to the anniversary of this horrible accident or incident. Not accident, it's an incident. And my condolences go out to the families. You know, it's tough, man. It's another Christmas without a family member they're gonna go through. I gotta get going. I gotta go to work. Y'all finish out for me. Y'all take care, guys.
Thank you,
Later,
Blue.
man.
Thank
Take care.
you. That was some good final words from Big Blue, and thank you, Mayo Girl, for your $9.99 super chat. We appreciate that. You know, I talked to Christy day before yesterday, maybe yesterday. She said they're doing well, you know, given everything. So a quick update on that. And I did talk to her, and just about general stuff and this article, and they said they were doing well.
That's good, man, because sometimes these kind of things tend to destroy more families than anything. You know what I mean? Especially from feeling kind of like Blue said. Sometimes even as parents, you feel guilty with things that are out of your control. You know, you never want to see your kids go through, you know, bad times. And in this situation, they lost their daughter. You know, and you know, for them to be doing great, you know, as a family, as a, you know, the love they have for each other, it seems real strong. And you know, and that's good. Moving on, it's gonna be a better closure for them.
Yeah, they're still fighting. They want to make sure that there is no doubt in anyone's mind that the person that's going to be when justice is finally served and the person is getting that justice served to them, that there's no that the right person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, I still feel for her and them. I mean, I couldn't imagine like Blue said, the year anniversary is coming up, so I couldn't imagine how hard that's going to be. You know what I mean? I think Christy still has a birthday that's coming up as well, and it's going to be her first birthday without her daughter, and that's going to be horrible. You know,
It's gonna be rough, man.
my thought, my prayers go out to her and her family.
Exactly. Yep.
100%. Daniel, have you ever tried to talk to Steve? No. I just kind of keep my, I don't want to push anybody's buttons or anything like that. I don't want to impose myself on anyone. It was more about, I had some information and referencing what I had seen in the article that was given to me, and I referred it back to them. And my contact has always just been Christy. So I was referencing only that.
Yeah, we want to make them feel, like they can approach us. You know what I mean? We don't want to be out there pushing stuff that, to get information out. It's more, we want them to feel comfortable enough to come talk to Danny or us. Yeah.
And right now there's a gag orders that's pretty strict. And I don't know, what type of trouble or any trouble at all or anything may have came out of this whole grand jury talking. I didn't get into that with her. I honestly don't know. But I don't know about that aspect. But yeah, hold on, I saw something.
I just wanted to tell everybody on the chat that that Danny's shirt is not white; it's pink.
It is pink because real men wear pink. Angel, so they're not outraged about the article, the Airmail article. I didn't get that impression. Yeah. We talked about basically just the witness thing.
Yeah. Also, Steve is really on the, with his own investigation going on. So I wouldn't think he would be too upset about it. Try to be light.
Yeah. And I think that at the end of the day, the more information that comes out, this is the vibe that I get. The more information that comes out, so that way there's less speculation and less misinformation, is there where they want to be at. That's where they want to, that's their standpoint. Yeah. They want to say, hey, that's why they don't like the gag order being so strict, because with the gag order being so strict, there can't be any objections to some misinformation. People can go on about wild stories about God knows what, and there's nothing there to refute that. You get what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
And so that's kind of where that is at.
Yeah. The gag order, like you said, the gag order just creates more speculation.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so, with that being said, I think that's going to end up doing it for us, man. Do you have any final words or last comments or questions?
No, man. I just want to say thanks to everybody that was on the live, mods, members, you, Big Blue. I want to thank y'all, and thanks for showing some love.
Yeah, we appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be back on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about Delphi. We're going to have Rick Snay from Delphi After Dark on the program. He lives in Logansport, Indiana, which is very close to Delphi, Indiana. He has a relationship. I don't want to say it's a relationship. He's an acquaintance with Tony Klein, which is the father of Keegan Klein, who was suspect in that crime or a person of interest in that crime for a very long time. He's got some information, firsthand knowledge, and we're going to be talking about Richard Allen, Odinite angle, possible crime scene photos that have been leaked out. You don't want to miss it. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell. It's going to be happening Wednesday night, 7:35 p.m. Central, 8:35 p.m. Eastern. That being said, y'all, we're out of here. Peace.
Later, man.
Laters. Oh man, Mitch says who found K and